morning, gentlemen.
Hello.
So is that the big mic drop there, Kristen?
That was the big mic drop, yes.
Muted.
Thank you. Yes, that was the big mic drop this morning. For those that didn't catch it, so I announced today shutting down Collab Talk LLC, just to differentiate the LLC from the community stuff. But I'm joining AvePoint as the Microsoft go-to-market director. So essentially, my job will be to ensure that AvePoint and Microsoft are in alignment with product and technology, that kind of stuff. So very excited. So
very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
So that's going on. Mike has grown some new facial hair.
Everybody else is in this.
Oh,
Everybody else is in the spirit.
I joined the t-shirt train today and none of you are wearing one.
I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Let me see.
Oh, fun show.
Oh, there we go. I like it.
nice.
Mine's my stream shirt.
Yeah, I have that T-shirt as well, Shari.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Wear it once in a while. Yeah.
I've got fast up here.
I love a man who feels comfortable in pink.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, Hal.
Oh, you got the ugly sweater.
I got the ugly sweater.
I like it.
Actually, that's Hal's favorite sweater. That's awkward. We'll just leave that.
Very cool.
So we're not
Well,
live.
yeah, no, we're live. Yeah, we're streaming. We're here.
we're live.
So, thanks everybody for joining Microsoft Community Office Hours. This is episode 40. Feels so old all of a sudden. Yes, so 40 episodes, 40 weeks of doing this, what we thought would be this temporary till the COVID lockdown thing opens back up. So we continue to roll with this. We are on the schedule, everyone, for next week as well. And then, and I'm trying to figure stuff out, but we may take a pause for a week or two, where we're going to have a redesign and relaunch. So there's a bunch of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. But it's going to be moving to a different day, and then we're splitting back out to US, EMEA, and APAC in the afternoon. So we've got to figure out a bunch of logistics and get stuff out there, but we're actually going to have a production team that will be taking over and running it. So we won't be driving the bus. We'll just be writing.
Fresh coat of paint, new drapes.
That's right. So that should be a lot of fun. But the rest of it, with me sending a 1 a.m. Monday morning email with a list of things that don't give you guys enough time to look through them, that will continue.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We lost that. I mean, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Well, you want the most timely questions. You want to take it right down the last minute anyway, right?
Sure. That's what I think is happening. Yes. Hey, before we get started, I neglected to do this until the end. It is appropriate that we share the disclaimer for today's session.
Yes.
Yep. So
Disclaimer.
all opinions are as is, and then I put in quotes the experts that we're experts on some but not all technologies. I don't think I have a telephony question today. Oh,
Yeah,
missed
did.
out on my running gag. So we'll do our best, but if you have other questions that you'd like us to respond to, you can, if you're watching the live stream out on YouTube. Facebook is not running today, so I shared the YouTube link. So I'll be monitoring questions over on YouTube, and I know it just happens that the platform. So I think we're out on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn. But for some reason, Facebook, it needed to be refreshed and didn't get refreshed. So, but we move forward. We rise above it. We're professionals, right?
That not so fresh feeling.
Yes.
Well, let me go over to together mode.
I have a couple questions from some classes I did last week. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's appropriate to throw those
we
in.
go through that as well. And we don't have Neil here. Hopefully he'll drop in because Neil had one of the homework items. Sean, do you have an update on your homework item?
I do.
Okay.
The update is.
Do you want to mention?
You're not going to get.
Okay.
You're not going to get much help. There was a question about the highlighted content web part in modern sites. How to place images into SharePoint so that they would be picked up by the highlighted content web part. There is no mapping control that users have right now for fields. It functions much like the content search web part, but you cannot edit the display templates. And so you just have to, and it also really depends on which of the display templates of sorts, whatever the highlighted content, they're cards, content cards. The content card that you're using. So there's a content card which shows things in lists. There's a content card that has like a gallery. There's several different content cards. And you just have to magically put things into SharePoint in the proper fields to make them show up on that highlighted content web part. Now I'm going to throw a couple links in, let's see, in the conversation here. There is a user voice that has been created, surprisingly enough, not really when you think about it, but it's to allow, the one that I'm linking to is to allow file name attributes instead of titles and highlighted content web part. But more broadly, there is a push to try and get some sort of property mappings like we had for the content search web part put into place for the highlighted content web part. And what property mappings would allow us to do is to essentially take the different fields that are displayed on the page and wire them up to the individual fields that we want to have populate that data. So maybe we don't want the title of something to appear right at the top. We want the author's name. We could queue in onto a field that is the author's name and map that across to what would show up for the title. Same for the images and whatnot. So I've put 4 links in. One is to the somebody asking the question about any ideas on how to edit the highlighted content card templates. I've got the user voice suggestion in there. I've got a post to an article on how to use the SharePoint online content highlighted content web part, which more or less goes through the same thing and comes to the same conclusion. We do not have the ability to edit the templates, and modifying the query template for the highlighted content modern web part, a very brittle solution put out by none other than Mikhail Svensson, who is a former MVP, now works at Microsoft in charge of all the search stuff. So Mikhail is the guy, for those of you who might be listening, that you want to bother when it comes to search in SharePoint. He's the guy that can get things done.
Tell him Sean sent you.
Yes, tell him I sent you. And I'm sure he will blacklist me.
And I grabbed all the links for that, and I'll provide those in the blog post as well for today's session. So awesome. Well, thanks. That was very thorough. Although not a polished solution. It's not plug and play. To go do that. Yeah. We knew
the content search web part was much more evolved and further along than the highlighted content web part is right now. Yeah. So it needs to evolve.
Well, cool. Well, hey, Shari, why don't we start off with one of your questions?
The first question was, a gentleman was not getting the notifications in Teams when when emails were sent to the Teams address. Like nobody's getting the notifications and they want them in their inbox. So I know when you create an Office 365 group, you can subscribe everybody to those notifications and they can unsubscribe themselves. But how is there a setting in Teams and where's that setting to make sure people are getting all the inbox conversations?
I have to go in.
Well, that's an actual notifications actually has a known issue currently. I don't know if anybody is aware of what the MCs are, but I'll put it out here in chat. This is the MC number of the known issue. Currently, if you go to Office 365 under Teams and you take a look at the messages, you will see a known issue. And then I'll bring it up. I'm currently working to repair the preset for Teams and channel notification settings. All new post notification settings for shown and pinned channels. Users who turn on settings will not receive notifications as expected. And you know, you can read through it from there.
Okay. During class, I'm like, I don't know, but I know some guys.
Yeah, this is actually this is the link to it right here. If you get into your admin center.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other one I have to find, I wrote it down, but I can't find the piece of paper.
That's right. We can address it later. I was just going to say that. So I think we've handled a couple questions around this, which were basically spurred from the same issue. So I mean, the way that it's supposed to work, you're supposed to be able to go in and subscribe to those things or not. Whether an admin can, assign everyone to receive those or not, was I think an earlier question. Like, do you have to use a formal announcement, or can with this email automatically set up notifications if you set up a new channel and everybody has by default on that they receive the notifications? Then you can then any emails should notify those people unless they go and elect to remove those notifications. So I find myself doing it, I think, by default when you're in a channel, in a conversation, and that you're a member of, that you'll start receiving those messages. So especially like with all of the online events, I find myself constantly going in and shutting off the notifications, click on the ellipses, turn that off, because the noise just becomes instant. And that's the way it's supposed to work. But as this question that you received, and we've heard it before, that's not always the case with that scenario of that team or channel email. So
very good.
Go ahead.
I'm going to do some more research. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Sure. Hey, Christian, can I do a little segue here into a couple announcements?
You can do some announcements, yes.
Mike's got announcements?
Yeah, I do, actually. So if anybody's familiar with some of the changes that happened during 365 during the week, there are some updates that happened. One is they're finally getting meeting reactions in Teams meetings. Every other collaboration tool on the planet has had this for years. And Teams is now finally getting it, where you can put a little, thumbs up as a reaction, or
here's your tomato. Be careful where you throw.
I was just looking. We're like, where? I just scrolled down to the bottom of my screen, Mike, to see, is it there yet? Can I heart this as you're talking? Yeah.
It's coming.
All right.
It's coming. Okay. They expect rollout not until January of 2021.
Okay.
So, as I said before, Teams is kind of like just a couple years behind everybody else on that, but it's coming. So that's cool. There is now also an issue. A question came up. I don't know when it was. A couple weeks ago, last week. I don't remember. During one of our sessions, and it said that we're having problems creating meetings in Outlook, and it's lo and behold, Microsoft now is allowing the user voice option that was brought out by people to create all meetings online in Outlook for Windows. So Outlook for Mac, Outlook Online, iOS and Android Outlooks all could do all meetings, but Outlook for Windows could not. So now they're saying, hey, you know what? We ought to, extend this. So again, January 2021, it'll be in Outlook for Windows. And last but not least, we have the Microsoft Teams is increasing the org-wide team limit from 5,000 to 10,000. Now this isn't new news. This is something they announced a long time ago. But now they've actually are waiting again to roll out until next year. So anybody who's waiting for that, if you got over 5,000 people in your teams, you got to wait till next year.
And I'll once again say, if you have over 5,000, if you have anywhere close to 5,000 in a single team, my belief is you're using the product incorrectly.
And there is one last thing.
Isn't that Yammer? Shouldn't it be Yammer at that point? Is that
Or your portal. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Outer.
But as everybody knows, it's a whole security thing. If you've been living under a rock, you don't know about FireEye and SolarWinds and hacking all these government agencies and stuff like that in the U.S. But yeah, I got to tell you that TechRadar, I don't put much into the online magazines anymore. I used to remember when I used to wait to get my PC magazine in the mail and stuff like that and read it all the time. But the online ones have kind of gone off the deep end for clickbait, in my opinion. And one of them they've done is they posted a headline. Now, Microsoft has actually been trying to solve the problem with the SolarWinds issue. And they've actually said, hey, if you use anything from sysinternals, Mark Rosenovich came out and said, if you use any of the sysinternal tools, it'll actually scare the SolarWinds hack away, okay? Because it's built in that it's finding it. So Microsoft has been doing a lot of stuff around that, but these people at TechRadar decided to somehow come up with a headline called Microsoft Azure breach left thousands of customer records exposed. This is probably the worst headline I've ever seen because it was to one customer located in a remote part of the world that had an Azure blob that was unsecured, but they made it sound like all of Azure was hacked. So that's my downvote for this week is TechRadar, lousy headline, terrible news at this time when everything else in the world is going to hell with the SolarWinds and FireEye issue.
Well, you can read more about my opinions. Was SolarWinds really the biggest hack? Question mark, question mark. Read more to find out. That's my blog going out today.
They're still finding more about it. It's got its tentacles everywhere because of the way the updates happened and the way that the product was used within other products. So this is just what we've heard so far is just the beginning.
Tip of the iceberg.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mike, for those updates. Apologies for not raising those while you were still dressed in the garb. I think
Get hot.
Yeah.
I got hot. I had to take them off. So and nobody else is in the spirit here. I see Sherry's actually put up the background, but none of you guys. You're not in the spirit. Yeah. He's got the shelf. He's got the elf, but he doesn't have on the shelf. How come it's not on the shelf?
The best meme that I saw was for somebody who's really lazy with putting up holiday decorations, and they had deflated lawn creatures, Christmas things, and in the middle of it was a little Yoda standing with a lightsaber. So like he killed.
That's fantastic.
It's fantastic. I can't remember who shared that. Hang on, I have it right here.
After the Mandalorian finale, it should be Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah, no.
With the lightsaber.
His name is Grogu now. It's Grogu now.
Grogu. Yeah, it's funny. It's my mother-in-law. Here we go. There's the image there.
That's great. That's like honestly, my
awesome.
my neighbor. That looks exactly like my yard.
I love that. Yeah.
Nice.
But it's funny. So my mother-in-law and I got her into it. She's just like, what do I? They're retired. And like looking for things to do. And so she started watching this. She's like hardcore into it. And so I think she may even go and buy some of the books or watch the cartoons just to kind of get some of the backstory. And so she has not seen the most recent episode. She's actually coming over this afternoon to watch it at our house. And so she's like getting into the detail of the history, and so it'll be a fun conversation. Just for the record, just be clear. And by the way, I love it, Eric. Every time you move your head in the stream, we see the Muppets show.
Yes.
If you move your head slightly, the Muppets' faces show up.
I had a different background on before, but the sides of the hat is white. So every time I turn my head, the side of my head disappears, which you just can't have.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I really like your support for Valvoline. So thank you for that. All right. Well, why don't we jump in with question number 1 from this list. VKI says, "Hello, everyone. We recently migrated to Exchange Online and having Skype on-prem. But we would like to skip Skype Online migration for some reason and move directly to Teams, since we already deployed Teams and our users are starting using Teams. Now, I do have a question. Can I flip the change in Teams Admin Center from Islands mode to Teams only mode? Is that enough, or should I take any additional actions to ensure this process?"
So instead of accepting the fact that Skype for Business is going away online, they decide to move it on-prem and switch it to that. Is that what I just heard?
No, they're on-prem, and they instead of moving to Skype online, they just want to use pure Teams.
Oh.
So do they just make the admin switch from Islands mode to Teams only mode? Or is there anything else that they need to do? Now, so I've not done, this is enough over in the UC side of things that it's telephony-ish. So those are friends. So this is I guess that I did include a telephony question. No, but yeah, there's people I would ask questions about this. I've not provided that kind of consulting. So I've not worked with any clients and gone in and moved them from Skype over. So to know whether there is something else that you need to be backing up, that you need to be doing to ensure integrity with the move from Skype on-prem over to Teams, I don't know. Anyone else have any experience with this?
I'm in the same boat as you.
Okay. I will take it as homework.
No hablo Skype.
I'll follow up with a couple UC people, and I'll try and get a response and add it to the blog post for later today. So again, for those, if you're just watching the live stream or watching the recording, if you go over to buckleyplanet.com, you can search on the office hours episode 40. You can find this recording as well as a complete list of every topic that we discussed with links to that segment within the broadcast. And then any links that we share here, type into the chat. So it's great. Some of these links, how long they are, you know, but to, you know, so I do provide those in the blog post as well. And Shari shared I just was looking at this site, the holiday parties backgrounds. I downloaded a couple of those as well this weekend.
If you're not into decorating your house, at least you can decorate your background.
That's right. Well, I prefer this in the live stream. What is this? This Space Force type background. So we're like astronauts or something. I don't know. All right. Question number 2. Robin says, and it's a longer one, recently received a requirement to enable information rights management for library so that the external users who are given access to this file cannot print or copy the contents. The file type we're talking about is PDF. Using Microsoft Edge, internal users were able to access this file without any issue. It opened up in the browser itself. However, when the same file is shared to an external user after configuring external access and adding external domain in SharePoint Online Admin Center for the site, it appears they are not able to access it even after completing sign-in in Edge and the same work profile in Edge. The message they receive says, contact the owner of the file to give you permission. I checked this myself using a test tenant and gave access to a test user. The result was exactly the same. even if I check the permissions on the file, I can see that the test user ID there, still not able to access the file. Tried the link received from email as well, and not working. So any experience with that, with external users? So I think there's been variants of this. I don't know if this is an issue, that there was a discrepancy, like it's a permissions issue, and that at some level, at the tenant level, at the team level, or with that individual, that all of those things need to be enabled to work properly. And in the past, it was enabled in the tenant, but the owner of the team had not enabled it for external sharing, and they were having some trouble. So that would be the first place that I would go and look, is check and make sure that external sharing is enabled at each of those levels. Make sure that there's nothing turned off on the library, on the SharePoint side. And there's a number of places that you can look that if somebody has gone in and manually changed the configuration, can stop external sharing.
Well, in the background, in like the Teams admin center, the OneDrive and SharePoint both have to have external sharing turned on. Am I correct? Yeah. So if they don't have one or the other, because I tried to turn on external sharing on mine, thinking, oh, you just flip a switch. No, there's like 10 switches.
Right.
You don't just flip one switch and get external sharing. So, yeah, a lot of digging on that one. And isn't it OneDrive or SharePoint has to have the higher level?
Correct.
Permission, yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Somebody did like an ebook on this. It may have been Matt Wade that did a resource on external sharing that covered this. I don't remember. Eric, is there something? Did the EUM team have something? I remember seeing the ebook, and I know that there's Peter and team have a bunch of content around external sharing. I don't know if it covers this specifically, though.
There's a ton of content there for EUM, but I don't know off the top of my head. I will take that as a bit of homework, though.
Okay.
If you'd like to assign that.
I will do that. All right. Question number 3. Matt asks, is it just my tenant, or has Teams desktop app performance taken a serious nosedive in the past few weeks? They added a bunch of caching to improve performance a while back, but lately, every time we switch tabs, there's a major lag while content seemingly refreshes from the web each time.
So the first thing I would say is it hasn't been the past few weeks. It's been like the past few months. I've had you guys know this. I've had a terrible time with Teams in the desktop app. But I just did a test before you did this question. We were discussing the other one, and I was switching between the Files tab and the Wiki tab and things like that. It has slowed down considerably. It took like 2 seconds for it to bring up a file listing that's only 3 files. You know, and I can tell from my one of the desktop graphs I have for my internet, it's telling me that it's going out and it's doing a whole bunch of, crazy traffic, and then it comes back and, now, we'll give you your files. So, yeah, I've definitely noticed it.
Well, and this was the other question that I had written down, because this happened to me twice in the last 2 weeks. Using the desktop app, my Teams meeting that I'm training from, like I always have to have it up on another machine, crashes. And then I try to rejoin it, it blips, and then it goes away again. And I try and rejoin it, blips, and goes away. I can get back in the web browser, but I can't get back in the desktop app. Anybody experience that or know why? So frustrating. I don't want to submit a ticket. Y'all have a quick answer.
I had a similar problem, Sherry, when I had to a month or so ago when I was trying to connect to this show, and I had to actually uninstall Teams, the desktop app, reinstall it, and that was the only way I could get it to fix, to get it to work correctly.
I may get to do that myself today because a couple weeks ago the chat for this meeting stopped working. It says you can't send messages because you're not a member of the chat. So Last week, I swapped over, instead of using the business tenant that I belong to, I used the Microsoft guest tenant. Chat works just fine there. Started it up that way this morning. Chat working just fine. Made a couple of changes. Looked around a little bit, just at some of the menus. Chat doesn't work there now either. It says the same thing. So I'm lost.
Yeah, and look, I've chalked a lot of this stuff up to what we've talked about in the past. Is that that every tenant is at some stage of new features being deployed, and it causes some wonky behavior. Like I had the record button disappear. We talked about this, I think, last week again.
Yeah.
And so I think, I mean, it sounds like that's the case. If it persists longer than 2 weeks, this kind of behavior, Shari, I would say log a ticket. Because this one thing too is, I know it's a pain in the butt to deal with support, especially like and it can be frustrating and take a lot of time. But if Microsoft doesn't get this data and know that we're experiencing these issues and know about our environments, what the circumstances are, then they're not going to be able to easily resolve these things, because everybody's waiting for everybody else to go log it. And I'm not harping on you, Shari. It's your fault, Shari. It's all your. Come on. Yeah.
I was just waiting until I had the dedicated time, because
Yeah.
the support guys are very persistent. They call and when I'm training, I'm sorry, I can't answer your phone.
Right.
So this week I don't have any more classes. I thought, okay, later today I'll do it if you didn't have an answer. So
I always love the support experience was like, all right, have you tried turning it off and on? Okay, let's see. Are you able to successfully log on? It's like, can we just jump forward? I've done the 20 things, and
That's a script, man. They gotta follow the script.
of course, but it's not just the script. They have to make sure that all those scenarios, all of those questions have been answered, and walk you through, because you could have the brightest people that are experienced on the technology, and they realized I missed step 7 of the 25 steps. So,
well, and yeah. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, but I'm not an admin. I mean, I know enough to admin be dangerous, so I always let them know that ahead of time. This is my level of knowledge, so they know where to start with me. Not like, have you tried Control-Alt-Delete? Have you tried to restart your machine? Let's move on.
Yeah.
One of those.
Well, it's the other thing that adds complexity to where we are with the cloud service is that, because we don't control, we are not our tenant admins. We're site collection admins within the environment. We're that level down, is that we don't know what's happening at the tenant level, what's been pushed down. And so that's why these unknowns. So even if you are keeping up on every single bit of news and feature, we don't know which ones have reached our tenant yet, and may be causing the issues that we're experiencing with our configuration. So it's, and there's no way to really do root cause analysis. You have to go to Microsoft support so they can go and look at that. They've become our IT team for Microsoft 365.
We can't go reboot the server anymore.
Right.
So you have the forms button in this meeting. I don't have it in mine yet. It's been out for a while. I don't know why I don't have it.
Yeah.
So let's do a test here just for giggles and anything else that would go into that race. Everyone go up to the top into Microsoft Teams and hit About Microsoft Teams and share your version number, which is displayed on the top of Teams in the actual desktop. It will tell you the Teams version. It will tell you when it was last updated.
Where is that?
Go to Microsoft Teams at the top. Click. Mind you, I'm on a Mac, but you should all have it. It should be relatively similar. Go to Teams, find the About Microsoft Teams. It could be in Help too.
I don't have that.
I don't have that.
I got it.
Where'd you find it, Hal?
You have to go to your where you would normally find settings, your picture, your login.
Oh, okay.
That's on the main console, and you click that, and then about 2/3 the way down, you've got About, and then you have a version for that. And what mine shows is 1.3.00.30866, 64-bit. It was last updated on 11/13.
So I'm on, you just need the last 3 numbers. So I'm on 874.
I'm on 1.3.00 30866, last updated 12.8.
Wow, mine is 11.17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine's 11.16.
Yeah.
What's the version number, Sherry?
Last 5 is 30866. Same as Sean.
And all of you
And
are on
me.
I'm assuming you guys are all on fast ring.
Yep.
So it could just be, the luck of the draw. I usually see this being on the fast ring, and I see people in the community, they get some new feature that we've all been waiting for, and mine always seems to be the last one to get it. And so maybe I was just, luck of the draw was first on this time out with this feature.
Well,
For me, it's fun when they come and go. I mean, I'll be there and then I've got this feature this week, and the next time I want to use it, it's missing. So I don't know what to tell you there.
interesting because it sounds like I'm on the most recent version, which is 8.7.4, the newest version. So I can tell you guys, from the future, it's great. You're going to love it.
Oh, I love that.
But you got
You look back.
Eric, where from the future, where should we make investments today?
So in the Monday night football game, here's who wins.
I used to tell my kids when I travel, when I'm over in Australia or New Zealand and I'm traveling home, when they were little, and they sort of believed me. I'd say, "Hey, I'm in the future. It's already tomorrow here." I said, "So I'm gonna, send a bunch of money to mom so she can make some stock investments." It didn't quite work out like that. I think even when my daughter was like 6 or 7, she's just like,
I know.
kind of suspicious, looks at me, looks to my wife. She's like, "That's not true, is it, Mom?" My wife is like, "No."
Not even close. Not even close.
I think, I realized that I had messed up my kids. Was again about that age when I would tell them something that was true, was factual, that they would ask a question, and they would look to my wife to get a confirmation. Okay, Dad told us the right thing. And I'm like, come on.
Fact checking dad.
Yeah. Hey, Noah, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
We were just checking our version numbers of Teams because of an issue that we're having, or people are having. But let's
issues.
yeah, I don't know. I don't have it works for me, everybody. So
Works on my machine.
yeah. Well, question number 4. Sherilyn asks, I was invited as a guest user to an external Teams site. I am getting this message now. It's you cannot access this right now. I'm the admin, so I can make whatever changes are necessary. So the message in its full says, you cannot access this right now. Your sign-in was successful, but does not meet the criteria to access this resource. For example, you might be signing in from a browser, app, or location that is restricted by your admin.
When I see this is because I've signed in private browsing and it didn't like it. So,
I think there's a difference too, that what they're saying is Sherilyn is saying that she got invited as a guest to an external team site, which isn't belong to her tenant. So she's saying, I'm an admin, I can make whatever changes are necessary. She can only make changes to her tenant, not the one she was invited to. So she has to find out what the policy is on that tenant that she was invited to.
Well, that's the difficulty
Important
too.
distinction, Mike.
Yeah. I think that you've nailed it, because somebody providing a link, it could be over on a different SharePoint site that she does not have access to, that might not be enabled. Just because you can see the link doesn't mean you can get to it. So there could be tabs that reference other sites and other data that you don't have permissions into, and you'll have a broken experience. Yeah, I know there was talk about this early on in Teams, whether it would handle some of that type of behavior. If there's 5 tabs across the top and only 2 of them I have permissions to, should the logic of the platform hide those 3 other tabs? And so that was a conversation at one point, and obviously there's a lot of coding that has to be done to make something like that happen. And instead, you click on it and you get the do not have access, do not have permissions, and request access.
If it's in private browsing issue, I have found this has not worked as well on Edge as they say. It keeps asking me to authenticate. So I create different profiles in Chrome. So if there's some place that they go often, they might want to create multiple profiles. Like, as a consultant, I have like 20 logins now. And instead of switching, logging in, logging out, logging in, logging out, I just in Chrome, I switch my person. So I won't show you my drop down. It's like lots of people. Which hat am I wearing now? I don't know if that helps people, but I put the link for how to do that in the chat.
Let me grab that.
It's a lifesaver for me.
All right, we'll add that in. Thank you.
Well,
Question number 5. Nikki asks, why is it that I cannot drag and drop folders from my PC to the Photos folder on OneDrive? It works only to drop it in my files. What is the point of this user not being able to drop files where I want them instead of having to move them afterwards?
They trying to drag and drop on a web page.
I think the issue is the Photos is not a folder. It's
Right.
aggregating all image types from across the folders. So I don't think the Photos, like my consumer OneDrive, Photos isn't a folder. It's aggregating across all my OneDrive folders. And that's maybe why it doesn't have a location to put it in when you try and drop it there.
So it's a view.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
It's a view, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I almost think that Microsoft could remedy this by having a default location that you select for that view and allow people
Windows
to drop in.
does for special folders. Even though it rolls up multiple folders locations, there's a default drop spot. This one is not as clear as maybe you think it is, because again, person might be trying to roll this into OneDrive on, we don't know what interfaces they're trying to go between. The web page, some are drop enabled, drag and drop, and they've got the necessary JavaScript behind the scenes to enable uploads. Others don't. So don't know if it's Windows Explorer or if this might be a browser as well.
Well, and OneDrive for Business doesn't have the Photos option. It's only OneDrive Personal. So, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So I think Noah has the right answer on that one. Maybe.
It's my best guess.
I had the same thing. Because I was trying to do the same thing, upload a bunch of pictures, and yeah, you can't drag it onto Photos.
Yep. I've experienced that and just didn't think much about it. Just jumped over to the folder location. But yeah.
Well, the good news is you can use my files and you can organize them. So, and then Photos, you don't have to. It just shows them, and it's by the date that the picture was taken. It takes the metadata and creates your albums or whatever.
I have to ask how all of you treat Photos, because coming up through the many generations of cloud storage, I'm sure all of you have had experience to some degree failures of these cloud storage. I've lost images, I've lost data. And so, I'm very careful. I have, as everybody does, tens of thousands of digital images. And I spent a lot of time in the late 90s scanning photographs and capturing data. And I lost a bunch of those. It wasn't in a Microsoft product, but it was in an early cloud storage platform. So I have them on hard drives. I have them on external drives. I've got them in multiple cloud locations. Does anybody else do that? So you've got backups and backups?
Yeah, adaptive.
Yes.
And in fact, I'm working on, I actually have yesterday, I spent 2 hours scanning family photos were my grandmother's photos and trying to figure out, the metadata around them. It says it was taken yesterday. It's like, no, this was 1920. So, but I found Amazon Drive lets you fix the dates. So I'm now using Amazon Drive. So I have it on a terabyte storage, but it syncs to the cloud. And so I have it in both places.
I've had mine in, I started out with Casa a long time ago. Went to Google.
Yep.
And now I've had my stuff in OneDrive. I haven't lost any data in OneDrive since I started.
Yeah.
I haven't lost, and I've got them all sitting there, but every once in a while I've got a thing on my calendar. About once a quarter I go out and I do a download. And I download all the, everything that I have. Still have Google Photos and I still have. So I download those and I put them on a NAS device I have. So I've got duplicates that I don't know if I really need them because, God forbid, OneDrive hasn't failed me yet. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I have, like my wife and my mother-in-law have been doing is they go through and been working with my kids. They did it for high school and stuff. Is they did the Shutterfly, the books. So they've actually gone through, found like the most relevant, important, life moment and photos and through, all those years, put them all together. And that's the work, is putting it in rough timeline around those and then putting in a printed book and one that we get to keep and one that we give to them that they can have. So that's nice to have those as well. But yeah, it's you almost have to sit down sometimes and go through and purge, like how many, like me, how many photos do I have of like random out a train or a plane or a boat or something from all of my travels, which why did I take a picture of that? Like no idea. Yeah.
And nobody's going to care about it 10 years from now. They're
Right.
like, why did you take this weird picture?
Yeah.
But you have to understand that the culture as it is now too, because you could never just have a phone and be able to take a picture. You used to have a separate camera that you have to carry around,
Right.
which a lot of people didn't do 24/7, which they do with their phones today. So you can take your phone out at any time and take a picture of anything.
Right.
That's just it's just part of what it is today. So
Yeah.
All right. Which cloud service is going to support your LiDAR scan of your house?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I know I'm a scrapbooker, so I've been doing scrapbooks forever, but you find the 4 or 5 most relevant pictures from that event, and then that becomes your page. And so Christian, exactly what you were saying, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So all of my family, I'm creating a shared thing. So like, go find the pictures that are important to you. It was an anniversary party for my grandparents, but my, the great aunts and uncles and everybody was there. Well, those cousins now would probably like to have those pictures.
Right.
Kind of.
Great.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Number 6, harsh. That's harsh as a name. Says, I have hybrid setup. Exchange 2013 and Global Office 365. This is in place and working fine. Now we have some Chinese users on same Exchange 2013. For them, we bought new Office 365 tenant, which is through 21 ViaNet. Now, how can I migrate Chinese mailboxes to 21 ViaNet Office 365? Multiple Exchange Online is not supported for Exchange 2013.
there are many third-party products that can do this for you. Migration Wiz is one of them. I believe,
There's
go ahead.
tons.
You know more about.
Yeah,
about this.
there's so my new company, AvePoint, has tools, of course. A lot of the vendors have solutions that are out there. But I think that the important part is Microsoft's guidance is go take a look at the third-party tools to do something like this. I'm not sure what Microsoft has as far as tooling. So I think they also recommend third-party tools for this type of migration. I've been away from the migration space for a few years, but I believe that's the guidance. Nothing to add, Sean?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a...
Migrations will continue
Yeah.
into the... I know it was kind of funny, you know, a handful of years back, Microsoft said, oh, we expect migrations to kind of roll off.
Right. Then it'll just be an
Never
upgrade.
rolled off.
No. Well, that's people don't understand. Just SharePoint alone is that the net number of net new SharePoint installs continues to go up both on-prem and online. And so obviously online is outpacing the numbers for on-prem, but the fact that it's still growing, it's still out there, and there's no end date for the on-prem means that there's going to be a migration business for many years to come.
Yeah.
So that's always good to put out there for people, that if you have a hybrid environment or a purely on-premises environment and like, do I need to move off? It's like, well, look, it's not an on-prem hybrid online discussion. Do what's right for your business. But what's important to know is that Microsoft is not abandoning the on-prem users and the hybrid users. There is no end date and no plan to have an end date. Microsoft's response has been, we will continue to provide this for those customers that need it. So
Grumble.
yeah. I don't think that's going to last forever, and you know, Microsoft is, you know, they're able to change their minds about that, but they will give a long, you know, years in advance notice, you know, that something's coming to an end. So, all right, it's number 7, Paraloy, I think that's how you pronounce that. Says, how do I prevent participants from deleting other participants in a meeting? Sounds like students again. So talking about a Teams meeting. Can I just delete somebody from that? Can I go in as the organizer? I could do that. Could I? Yeah, right there. Eric could be gone.
I feel like I'm about to leave. I don't know why. I just feel like I'm going to get the hook.
But as a non-organizer, what was that? Eric, why are you highlighting yourself there?
No, dude.
Okay.
You spotlight.
Did I spotlight you accidentally?
And it warned me that you did it. It actually popped up. It said, do not pick your nose. You are now center stage for everyone.
All right. Thank you for not. No, so if you're
my mind, but this is being recorded, so
if you're just an attendee, are you able to also go in and remove somebody? You have to be an organizer, I thought.
Just an attendee? That's so negative.
Discriminatory here, Christian.
Let them eat cake. Let them eat cake.
See if I can delete Christian here.
So
do it.
He's like, I dare you.
See what happens. Live stream will go dead, but you know, whatever.
So I muted him.
I just unmuted myself. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
So I think these are fairly recent controls, but you get one organizer. It's painful. You would like a few more, or the option at least to have more than one organizer. And thank you for spotlighting me. You now can make people attendees, and that takes away presenter rights, and for all presenters.
Well, food.
That's a name for that, Christian.
Is this how I get in this?
Sorry, that's all right. Sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
Hazing.
This is why schools don't use Teams, because you would have kids doing all this crazy kid stuff with spotlighting other kids, and it would just be crazy.
Well, I know in the Teams meeting settings you can set up if you can mute people, but I didn't know if you could, you know, like who's the presenter, who has to stay in the lobby, you know, those settings. But they probably do need to have one that's like how much control you can have as an attendee.
Yeah.
So Shari, the organizer has, who is the you're probably the organizer, Christian.
Yeah.
if you go to participants and do the ellipses, the more options, you should see an option to hard mute everyone. But you have to do it in two places. The meeting options, you've got to tell people not everyone's a presenter. And then you have to go to participants and say, don't allow people to unmute, or don't allow attendees to unmute. And then they have to raise their hand. Did you guys mute me again?
No.
No, we're just not listening. It's different.
Oh, good.
He's paranoid now. That's funny.
Randomly spotlighting people.
That's a whole nother level of you're on mute. Ha.
But now we have you controls. I think that stems from education primarily, but the customers I've presented this to, they love it as well.
But
the one scenario was a bidding session for city government. They have procurement, host these bidding sessions, and they don't want everybody to come off a mute, right? So they've hard muted those folks, and
so
they used live events, and now they want to support that
collaborative
scenario with. Yeah.
They want to have that ability to unmute somebody, have them ask questions or so. Well, were you able to verify though, as a participant, can you remove users? Do you have that ability?
Well, demote one of us. You can demote me. I'll be just an attendee, and then we can test it right here.
Make an attendee.
Okay.
Well,
Yep, I see
that
Shari as
worked.
the
Yeah.
attendee. Now we can hard mute her if we want to.
Well, now make somebody else one so we can see if we can delete each other. It doesn't work if there's not.
Noah, I volunteer you.
Turkey.
All right.
Yeah, all I can do from there, all I can do is pin.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think so. So obviously, the people that are doing that are all in there as admins or organizers to be able to have that ability.
Oops.
So let me ask this: has anybody ever turned on the live captioning?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is hilarious if you've been watching our show and looking at the live captioning. It is hilarious.
So that actually brings up a question. Maybe everybody coming into those meetings are coming in as presenters, which is the default.
Right. Yep.
Right, and they're not coming in as attendees. So maybe that's the setting they need to change.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. All right. And so I have the, as you see in the live stream, so I've got the closed caption there. So yeah, it's using closed caption is actually a great idea. If you are in a meeting, you have back-to-back meetings, and one of them is not wrapped up yet, you can join the other meeting in a browser versus desktop or two different browser windows and have it muted, but have the live captions so you kind of be monitoring as they overlap until the other one finishes. So I know that there were people that were talking about with all the online conferences really wanting to watch two sessions. So they did this with live captions. And so that's a great way to not focus on either.
That's why we've got two eyeballs.
That's right. Got two hands, two eyeballs.
Now we have video fatigue times 2.
That's right. All right, I'm going to turn off the live captions. There we go. All right, so question 8. Nikki asks, same Nikki as above. Why does OneDrive often tell me someone else has made changes to this document when I am the very only one using the file on different devices where I'm always signed in to my MS365, which I assume includes being signed into OneDrive. So she's logged in 2 locations, editing on the same file, and it says someone else has made changes even though it's the same login in 2 places.
I've had that happen several times in when I had a document open on my Surface and one open on my desktop, and it's the same document.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it was happening to me, because I thought somebody else had access to the document. Turns out nobody else had access to it, but my Surface was doing an autosave. So it would autosave the document every X amount of minutes or whatever that Word has up, that Word defaults to. And every time it autosaves, it gave me a notification on my desktop that the document had been altered. When actually it wasn't altered. It was saved on my Surface.
Every 2 minutes or 5 minutes.
I've had the same when I've opened it on the desktop version, and originally had it, from the web version, open it in the desktop version. Now it's kind of open twice. It's still running, so unless you close it on the web version, then it's still going to say somebody else is editing it. I don't know if it's going by machine ID or whatever, but
yeah, because there's a unique fingerprint to each device. And so it's good, even though to show that it's the same login in both the devices, because you can do the multiple logins on multiple devices with your profile, but to remind you that you have it open in multiple places. But that's why it's working as designed.
Well, not really, because it could be working as designed, but it should be designed better, because it shouldn't say someone else has made changes to the document. If you're logged into both places, it should say your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so it's a generic warning that it's been edited, and with so it can be more personalized. You're right. I don't know how often that scenario happens for most folks, and so it may have just been, Microsoft says it's not common enough that we need to worry about that level of personalization, having more error codes to create. Let's see. Number 9, Travis says, hi, is there a way to mute a student in one channel of a team, but have them still be able to post in other channels?
Not per individual.
I don't think so.
The controls are at the channel level. You can maybe get around it and say everybody except this guy, except this student, is a team owner or those that can post. Moderator. What do they call it in a channel?
I don't, Shari, is that link related to this question?
the previous question.
Previous, that's that. All right.
Yeah, or it could be this one too. But no, that's for the meeting options, making him a participant versus an attendee.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in the channel, you can say only owners can post messages. And if you make, well, that changes the membership for everyone in the team. So there's not a way to.
But when you mute somebody, so what's the behavior? What happens when you mute someone within Teams? Are they muted in their relationship with you?
No, I don't think you can mute an individual. Am I mistaken?
Where specifically, Noah?
Yeah, because I just want to make sure that the phrasing of this, because when you're in a team meeting, muting somebody, shutting off their mic, is different than, if you're, is there...
I don't know of a way to. So in a meeting, that's a separate. I think the question's about channels, right? And participating there. So I don't know of a way to mute an individual. You can make the channel who can post to owners, and then options for people who can reply, similar to what Twitter recently did, restricting people who can reply to those that follow you. I think it's similar to that in Teams. So that's the closest you can get to something like that.
Yeah, but then you're giving him a whole lot of power. Oh, evil laugh.
Yeah. The other thing, the only other place I thought you mute somebody was in a chat, and chat is separate from the channels discussions. So muting somebody in a chat, if they're just harassing you or just the volume is high and you just don't want to get notifications from that, you can mute that person there. Has nothing to do with the channel conversations and their ability to upload and participate in those channels. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything different in the education sector or anything about that version of it, but I don't think so.
I'd have to go look. I do have access to some EDU stuff.
Noah,
I'll circle back.
Noah, do you want to take that as homework? And yeah, if you can
Sure.
find anything, if there's about muting, if there's some other capability that we're not aware of, so that'd be great.
Thumbs up.
Okay, research. Question number 10. How are we on time? Well, we got 25 minutes left. All right. Is that a link that's relevant here, Mike? Oh, is that the
Yes,
next
sir.
one? Okay. So here's the question. Julie says, does anyone have a strong understanding of the Power Automate licensing model? Like, are all premium connectors included in the per user plan or not? The language is super vague. What? On the pricing, and the sales rep was not particularly helpful, probably because they didn't understand it themselves. Any anecdotal info would be most appreciated.
So first, huge disclaimer. Huge disclaimer.
Do I need to show the disclaimer? I'll do it.
I do not have a strong understanding of any licensing related to Microsoft, including Power Automate.
I'm showing the disclaimer on screen, Mike, but I'll just say,
Yeah,
so
okay.
Mike is going to share his expertise.
My expertise is in search and being able to find articles that tell you what you need to know. But I have to say, if a Microsoft rep can't even give you the straight skinny on licensing, you're going to the wrong Microsoft rep. Yeah. You need to go directly to the licensing people. You need to go to a LAR. Actually, you should go to a LAR, and they'll point you in the right direction. So.
Isn't LAR? Is that from the lyrics of Sound of Music?
The hills are alive.
Oh man! All right. Anyways, you should absolutely consult directly with Microsoft to get a definitive answer. Okay, but what I did find online is it says that yes, if you have a per user license, then the premium connectors are included.
Okay. You're welcome, Julie. Okay. Let's see. Number 11, Devi Prasad says, I have SharePoint list with 25,000 plus items. So over 25,000. I want to display these items into drop-down lists in PowerApps. Due to threshold limits, I can fetch only the first 2,000 records. So how do I achieve this?
I dropped a link in the chat window. There are various limits. The 2,000 limit is mentioned within the body of the post, but the author includes about a half a dozen different ways to get around list limitations when working with larger lists in PowerApps. So hopefully one of those will be to the submitters. Fancy.
I just hope whoever that is gives them auto recognizes their typing, so they don't have to scroll through that many things trying to make a selection.
Predictive lookup, yeah.
Yeah, something. That's terrible.
I want to be clear and say that, although I put that link out there, I think you probably need to take a look at your design if you're, which is, I think, the point Shari was going for.
if they would finally give us cascading drop-down lists in SharePoint after 20 years of asking for it, that might solve one of those issues to help narrow it down.
Indeed.
But,
Yeah.
I'm beating the dead horse, so,
Refiners. Yeah. Well, that's back in the early days of portals and enterprise search activities. So back in the mid '90s, working for the phone company, and we would work with these power users who their job was, and we were data warehousing shop, and so we did the back end, owned all that data, do the merging of data. We had a set of power users that then built reports and other consumable, dashboards and things for the masses. So we had a couple dozen users that we primarily worked with. And sometimes we'd have a conversation, the design of this, and they would go back to the end users that were making requests and say, we need to further refine this. It's like it's too big. It takes too long. So it's costing time and it's a lot of effort and not exactly giving you what you want. And so to refine that down to give them exactly what they need. So when you have something that's large, that big, yeah, it's not just the design of the PowerApp or the report. It's like, what are you really trying to accomplish that's bringing in such a big sample size? You need to refine your requirements.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's you. It's not me. That's what I thought you were going to say, Sean.
No.
Yeah. All right. So we got a third question from Nikki, who asks, when I get a message, there was a problem with the cache. I simply have no clue what it means and if I should be concerned. Can someone please tell me? What does it mean? Do you have a problem with the cache?
You need to hit an
You're broke.
ATM.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
What is displaying that message? Is it a
What program?
browser? Is it an application? Everything's got cache these days. If not, typically multiple levels of cache. So could be anything.
I was thinking of this too. So we don't know what product, we don't know what environment. So she could be on an outdated Mac for all we know, and some other third-party browser that no one uses. Who knows? No, but most of the time when I've experienced caching issue error, I've never seen that phrasing. But it might be because I realize that I have 20 tabs open in Chromium or Edge. I have multiple applications open. And just by going and doing a reset of that application or re-logging into that environment, shutting down some tabs, frees that up. So, that would be my, so there's a problem with the cache means that it could mean that it wasn't properly stored, the temporary files. So if, depending on what you're doing, I might try saving again. If you were saving something, make sure that what you were doing, whatever it was, the steps were completed. But otherwise, try turning it off and on again.
Christian, I thought this was a subtle hint at crypto from whoever's given the message. Is it Microsoft giving the message? There's a problem with your cache.
I've just put it in my new credit card. The Nigerian prince says I'm going to double my money in 30 days. So,
Yeah.
Does a Microsoft Store take Bitcoin?
I don't know if they do.
You know what? Don't worry about it. I just found out that my uncle died, and I can cover all you guys. It's all good
Oh, excellent.
for many, many, many years to come. All I have to do is click on this link, and all of our lives are going to change.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. There was at the co-working space here in Lehigh, there was a Bitcoin ATM. Never once saw somebody using it there. Now I'm just thinking, I gotta know what you have to do to log into that. It's like, but my, PIN, all the details, my account number are in my safe. So I'd have to come home, open the safe, get that stuff, bring it back to access that. But yeah. It's doing huge numbers. It surpassed 24,000. I haven't even looked at my what my accounts are up to now, my investments, but I just try to not look another 20 years before I have to start worrying about that.
Well, and of course you're going to put your username and password in some random machine that sits out in the middle of
Of course.
Sure.
There's like a dozen blockchain companies that work within this co-working space. That's why, they collectively thought it was a great idea to put that in there. It's a secure building. So you to get access to it, to get to that machine in the first place. But still, to your point, yeah, kind of defeats the purpose of a blockchain-based applications in the first place, is have an unsecured machine. Therein lies the humor. All right, number 13. Nicholas says, I'm wondering if anyone has played around with retention policies for Teams. I have created one policy for Teams channel chat and one for one-on-one chat. Both policies to delete chat history older than 1 year. It seems to have deleted the message history within one team that I applied it on, but it doesn't seem to do anything in the one-to-one chats for the user I am testing this with. 2 years chat history is still present in my test users' one-on-one chats. Is there someone that has done this successfully? So the difference between the channel conversations and the one-on-one chat is that all chat participants have a copy of all of the data. So you can delete things on your side and they still reside out there tied to the other person's profile. And that's related to the Exchange Online mailbox for that person. So from a compliance standpoint, you could still go in as like if both users go in and delete all that history, then it's gone. But if one remains, then the compliance tools will be able to go and search and find those items and do like a secure hold and that kind of stuff. So it's still out there. I don't know that that's the behavior that Nicholas is seeing. Has anybody else played with the retention policies? I think we're all like everybody else out there. It's like we're storing everything, we're capturing everything, we're deleting nothing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so it's always the hard decision. I still have paper copies of my taxes from like 10, 12 years ago. I don't know why. And I need to go through.
I don't think you're alone on that.
I need to go through and
not
delete.
Even close.
Yeah. I don't know why I still have that. It's just part of the the old way of doing things and making sure. But I don't know what actually with taxes. Do you need to keep them for 5, 7, or 10? I just
7.
7.
Yeah.
So I've got those. I need to purge older than that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I think that's the issue with the chat history. This would be one of those things where we provide the guidance. We need to go test this to see if that's the case. But I mean, I know how that. I'm sure of how this part works. To see it in action, though, you'd have to go and test that. See, have the other person apply the same policies or go and delete. If there are any member of the chat that still has it, I'm getting feedback from somebody. Somebody. All right. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I don't think me talking was the issue. I think it was somebody else's feedback, but thank you for that. All right, number 14. Mark asks, do Microsoft lists support US-only English? If not, which of my settings is causing this not to be UK English like the rest of my apps? First off, let me just say that U.S. English, if that's what's default, what's your problem? You got to use Z's instead of S's, which is just spelling fixes I don't have to make on your behalf.
Sorry, when you say Z, I get very confused. I am in the 51st state, so I don't know what you're talking about.
The letter Z, Eric.
Oh.
I was trying to be bilingual by calling it Z.
A key word there being trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my life, Mike. I'm trying. Sometimes I'm trying not to strangle you. So I believe I don't believe that there are, it's based on SharePoint, and I believe the default is English US. I don't know if it supports, like, what other languages it supports. Bless you, silent sneeze there. If it has UK or any other English type does anybody know what SharePoint supports?
I'm not good with multilingual and localization languages, that stuff.
Works on your machine, doesn't it, Sean?
Yeah, well, when you're the happy path, it's very easy to make things work right. But no, I don't know which variants are supported.
Yeah, is anybody able to find anything on search? Yeah, because I think that's the case. It's limited by what SharePoint supports, and I think that's just US. I don't know if you have to have the language packs on the SharePoint side to be able to support that for the lists. That'd be my guess. But it's not something that I've worked on.
Yeah, everything works for us over here because we're EN-US.
Yeah. Did you find something?
I just posted a link, but I just want to reiterate that Microsoft lists that are SharePoint-based lists. They're just because they're in Teams doesn't mean they're not SharePoint.
Right. Yeah.
SharePoint for the win. SharePoint for the win.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be an interesting question for the list team. I'm going to take that as homework to find out if they're if the language packs are in use, whether lists would then support those. So I'll ask somebody the question, see if I can get a response.
Choose languages on that page. Number 3, there's a link that says enable the multilingual feature. So I don't know if I've never done it myself, but that's where I would go to look.
Okay. I'll take a look.
Okay.
All right, the final question that I have here,
Yeah.
unless, we might have some free time back here, but only captured the 15. But
I did
Mohammed...
my homework already, Christian, if you want.
Oh, yeah. Go back to your homework. So this was question number... Let me find...
9 or 10? 11?
Let me see. Number 9. So Travis had asked, hi, is there a way to mute a student in one channel of a team but have them still able to post in other channels?
So channel moderation is a thing, and it's no different between the commercial and education versions. And just go to the channel, manage channel settings. Channel moderation, I believe, is off by default. If you switch that to on, you now have the ability to assign moderators. And so if you put everybody as moderators, that doesn't change the team owners, but team owners by default are moderators. And when you do assign people as moderators, Teams tells you that this capability is not audited. So it's not an official role that's audited anywhere. And then I enable 4 checkboxes, and I can share if you wanna see them.
Yeah.
Hang tight. So team owners, this team has many, but I come here, manage, I can type in a specific name. If I wanted to put the entire class except for that one student in there, I can. That would be effectively a way to mute someone. And then you select among these options. Allow members to reply. Allow members to pin, bots, and connectors. So if you uncheck that, only moderators can start a post. That individual that is not a moderator would not be able to post, either as a reply or as a new post. So there is a way to mute. It's a little tricky to get everybody in as moderators, though.
So that's in a scenario where you only have, let's say there's 10 students, 10 plus, and there's 2 teachers, but you can create, have the other teacher as a moderator, and only the 2 of you can have a conversation there. So they're just taking it. But that will, to answer the other part of his question, it will not impact then chat in other channels, because that has to be done at the channel level.
Exactly.
Okay.
I posted the link for that article in the chat. How to set up channel moderation in Teams.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sherry.
I got you.
Wish I could see the chat.
Poor Hal. It'll be in Christian's blog post, though, right? So
Yes.
doesn't fix your chat issue. But
I don't know if this, it might be that Hal is a security risk or something. I don't know. The system just
I don't know.
understands that inherently and blocks him.
Must
So,
be.
yeah.
you're being censored, Hal. You're being censored.
I guess so. My goodness.
All right. Final question of the day. Mahana asks, question number 15. I need your help. I want to create a PowerApp and first page a drop-down list. On change, I want the whole SharePoint data source to change so that all the data in the application depending on the drop-down selection. So drop-down that has 4 menu items, and depending on that selection, it changes the data source for that PowerApp.
So changes the actual source, or it changes the, like, again, we're talking about dependent or cascading drop-down lists, right?
Yeah. So, well, if it changes the sources, so if you have a PowerApp where you're asking people to do take a number of steps, so the first thing they do is they select, is this a, project A, project B, project C, and then the data source and what you access, the questions that you might ask, and the data that it accesses will be different based on that first drop down, what you select. You might have a default to project A, and with that data source, but you select project B, and the next steps might be completely different relevant to that other source. So you could go in and create a PowerApp for each individual data source, but is there a way of doing it so that is one of those refiners is that you select and that it automatically switches in between?
I don't know, but I'm thinking if they have an initial page and they click the drop down on that page, whatever they select there might take them to another Power App.
Which, right, the separate Power App scenario. Right.
Yeah, like a branching almost to different Power Apps from one. I don't know if that's possible. I'd be asking April. April Dunham.
Are you volunteering to ask April and come back and let us know?
I sure would.
Okay.
No problem.
That's a good homework.
And you have so been voluntold.
Okay.
And ask Miss Dunham. All right. Okay. Well, we are at time pretty much, and thanks everybody on the panel for joining. We had a full session here. Our spaceship cockpit. This is about all that we can support here in the ship, going up to the
Ho, ho,
station.
ho.
So. Yes. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all that other good stuff. And then we'll be back. We are planning to be back next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Batch.
Shazbot.
Yeah.
Anybody celebrating Festivus for the rest of us?
Yeah, well, there's the, I've got the, what is it, the dinner.
Airing of the
airing of the
grievances.
grievances that happens whether anybody asks for it or not. So,
Or no?
Christian's good for that.
yeah. It's happening. Oh, you know it's happening.
It's on.
Well, congrats on the new job, Christian. They're
Yeah.
really
Yes,
Thanks so much. That's pretty exciting. Lots to do. I've got a number of other phone calls and quite a few people that are pinging me via social channels, being, "Hey, we need to chat." Be like, "Okay, yep." Because
The tectonic shift.
you start a new job, it's not like there's anything going on with the new job. Talk to everybody. But no, pretty excited. But with that, let's see. I'll have, of course, as I mentioned, I'll modify probably tomorrow. Got a lot going on today, but we'll have the blog post up tomorrow, first half of the day, with a link list. So if you go out to buckleyplanet.com, you'll be able to find the latest Office Hours episode 40, and you'll be able to see all of the links. Of course, the recording is up, the live stream in YouTube on the Collab Talk channel. That's not going anywhere, so you'll be able to go and find it there. And I will also paste the link list in, so you don't have to listen to 90 minutes or jump around to find a specific question. You can click on the list link and jump to that topic. And please let me know, for those that have homework, just whenever you get an answer, let me know, and I'll put it in the blog post and update that as soon as I have that. What else?
Happy everything, guys.
Yeah.
Safe and happy holidays, everybody.
See you on the
Absolutely.
other side.
Episode 40 in the books.
In the books, episode 41 happening next Monday. So
Cool.
talk to everybody later.
All right.
Sounds like a
Take care.
plan.
Bye.
Gentlemen,
Doodles.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all
Merry
you.
Christmas.
See you next week.
Ooh.